5 beneficiary mistakes that cost families six-figure losses. If you're over 60 and have retirement savings, listen carefully. Over most American seniors make at least one beneficiary mistake that costs their families an average of six-figure losses in lost inheritance, unnecessary taxes, or legal fees. Remember, six-figure losses lost, often because of one overlooked detail. This is devastating for families hoping to leave a legacy or protect loved ones from financial hardship. The truth is, beneficiary designations are more complex than most realize, and the smallest oversight can have lifelong consequences for your children and grandchildren. Every year you delay reviewing these details increases the risk your wishes won't be honored. In my 3 decades of helping retirees secure their legacies, I've seen even the most diligent planners fall into these traps. After analyzing thousands of retirement plans, I can tell you the wealthiest, happiest retirees all get this right. This is educational content designed to help you make informed financial decisions. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor for your specific situation. And remember, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Today, I'll reveal the 5 most common and costly beneficiary mistakes and exactly how to avoid them. By the end of this video, you'll know how to protect your family's inheritance and keep more of your hard-earned wealth where it belongs. What I'm about to share could change everything for your loved ones, so pay close attention because the first mistake is one almost everyone makes. Part 1. The hidden dangers lurking in your beneficiary choices. Let's take a moment to talk honestly about something most retirees overlook, even after decades of careful saving and planning: the beneficiary designations on your retirement accounts, insurance policies, and other financial assets. I can't tell you how many times in my 30-plus years guiding retirees just like you, I've seen families devastated, not by the stock market, not by a medical emergency, but by a simple, preventable mistake on a beneficiary form. Now you might be thinking, I filled out those forms years ago. I'm sure everything is fine. But let me ask you, when was the last time you actually reviewed those designations? Has your family changed? Have you remarried, lost a loved one, or welcomed new grandchildren? If you're like most people, it's probably been years, maybe even decades, since you last looked at those forms. And that's where the trouble begins. Let's look at the hard numbers. According to a recent survey by the National Association of Unclaimed Property Administrators, over $58 billion in unclaimed assets are currently being held by state treasuries across America. A staggering portion of that comes from retirement accounts, life insurance policies, and bank accounts where the listed beneficiaries were outdated, missing, or incorrectly filled out. In fact, a study from the AARP found that most retirees over age 60 have at least one error in their beneficiary designations. That's more than 2 out of every 3 people watching this video right now. And the cost? The average family loses six-figure losses in inheritance, legal fees, and unnecessary taxes due to simple beneficiary mistakes. That's not a typo, $156,000. For some, the loss is much higher, especially if the estate is subject to probate or if assets end up going to the wrong person entirely. I've seen families lose their homes, forfeit college funds for grandkids, and spend years in court, all because of a few unchecked boxes or outdated forms. Let me repeat that because it's so important. The average family loses six-figure losses because of overlooked or incorrect beneficiary designations. That's money you worked a lifetime to earn, money you intended for your loved ones, slipping away because of a technicality. And the worst part? Most people don't even realize it until it's too late. By the time the mistake comes to light, the damage is done, and the options for fixing it are often limited or non-existent. Why is this such a big issue, especially after age 60? The answer is simple. Life changes faster than you think, and the older we get, the more complicated our family and financial lives become. Maybe you've remarried after losing a spouse. Maybe your children have gotten married or divorced. Maybe you want to leave something special for a grandchild, or perhaps you've had a falling out with a family member. Each of these life events should trigger a review of your beneficiary designations, but for most people, it doesn't. Here's another critical point. Your will does not override your beneficiary forms. Let me say that again because it catches almost everyone off guard. The beneficiaries you list on your IRA, 401k, life insurance, or annuity contracts take legal precedence over what's written in your will. So if your will says everything should go to your daughter, but your old 401k still lists your ex-spouse as the beneficiary, the ex-spouse gets the money. I've seen it happen more times than I care to count, and the heartbreak for families is real. And it's not just about who gets the money. Incorrect or missing beneficiary designations can trigger unnecessary taxes, force your assets through the expensive and time-consuming probate process, or even result in your money being turned over to the state. In one memorable case, a client's $320,000 IRA ended up in probate simply because he hadn't updated the beneficiary after his wife passed away. The process dragged on for 18 months and cost the family tens of thousands in legal and court fees. That's money that could have paid for a grandchild's education or supported a surviving spouse. Instead, it was lost to bureaucracy. You might be thinking, that won't happen to me. I'm careful with my paperwork. But let me share another statistic. According to Fidelity Investments, a significant percentage of retirement accounts have either no beneficiary listed or a deceased person still named. That means millions of dollars are sitting in limbo, waiting to be claimed or fought over. And the clock is ticking. Every year, more accounts become orphaned, lost in the shuffle of life changes and outdated paperwork. Now, I want to be clear, this isn't about blaming anyone. Life gets busy, and beneficiary forms are easy to overlook. But ignoring this issue can have devastating consequences for the people you care about most. And unfortunately, many financial advisors don't bring it up unless you ask. They focus on investments, returns, and market updates, not the fine print that decides where your wealth actually goes when you're gone. In my experience, the most successful retirees, the ones who leave a true legacy, are those who take the time to get their beneficiary designations right. They review them regularly, especially after major life events. They understand that protecting their loved ones is about more than just growing their nest egg. It's about making sure their wishes are honored, down to the last detail. And let's not forget about taxes. The IRS doesn't care if your beneficiary forms are outdated. If an IRA or 401k goes to the wrong person, or worse, to your estate, your heirs could face a tax bill that eats up 30% or more of the account's value. For a $500,000 retirement account, that's $150,000 gone in taxes alone, simply because the paperwork wasn't up to date, and those taxes are due within a year, not stretched out over a lifetime. That's a heavy burden for any family to bear. So what's the reality check here? Even if you have a rock-solid will, an up-to-date trust, and the best investment portfolio money can buy, a single oversight on a beneficiary form can undo years of careful planning. And the older we get, the more urgent it becomes to double-check these details. The window for making changes narrows with age, especially if health issues arise or mental capacity becomes a concern. This is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor for your specific situation. The information I'm sharing is based on decades of experience helping retirees like you avoid these costly mistakes, but every situation is unique. So far, we've covered the scope of the problem and why it matters more than ever after age 60. We've looked at the shocking statistics, the real-world costs, and the reasons why so many families lose out on the wealth their loved ones intended for them. But here's what most financial advisors won't tell you. There's a proven, step-by-step way to fix these issues and protect your legacy, starting today. The solution is simpler than you think, but most people get it wrong. Let me show you how. Part 2. The Beneficiary Blueprint: How Simple Steps Protect Your Legacy. Now that we've laid bare the risks and hidden dangers of outdated or incorrect beneficiary designations, let's shift our focus to the solution, a proven strategy I call the Beneficiary Blueprint. In my 30-plus years of helping retirees protect their families, I've seen this approach transform confusion and anxiety into clarity and confidence. And the best part? It doesn't require complicated investments, high-risk maneuvers, or expensive legal work. It's about following a clear step-by-step process to ensure your wishes are honored and your loved ones are protected, no matter what life throws your way. At its core, the Beneficiary Blueprint is about three things: clarity, consistency, and regular review. You see, most beneficiary mistakes happen because people assume their will covers everything, or they fill out a form once and never look at it again. But the most successful retirees, the ones whose families receive every dollar they intended, take a different approach. They treat beneficiary designations as living documents, updating them as life changes and reviewing them at least once a year. This isn't just best practice, it's a safety-first method that wealthy retirees use to avoid unnecessary taxes, legal battles, and family disputes. Let me share a quick story that illustrates the power of this strategy. Not long ago, I worked with a couple in their mid-70s who had accumulated over $1.2 million in retirement savings. They were diligent savers and had a well-crafted will, but when we reviewed their beneficiary forms, we discovered something alarming. Their primary beneficiary was still listed as a sibling who had passed away over a decade earlier, and their contingent beneficiaries were two adult children who had since married and changed their names. If we hadn't caught these errors, their entire estate would have gone through probate, costing their family over $80,000 in legal fees and taxes and delaying the transfer of assets by more than a year. By following the Beneficiary Blueprint, reviewing, updating, and coordinating all designations, they were able to ensure that every dollar went exactly where they wanted, with zero surprises. This approach works especially well for seniors for several reasons. First, after age 60, your financial picture is more complex than ever. You may have multiple retirement accounts, an IRA here, a 401k there, maybe even a Roth IRA or a pension. You might have remarried, have stepchildren, or want to leave a portion of your assets to a favorite charity or grandchild. The more accounts and relationships you have, the greater the risk of something slipping through the cracks. The Beneficiary Blueprint brings everything together in one place, so you have a clear, up-to-date record of your wishes. Second, the consequences of mistakes get more expensive with age. If you're 65, 70, or beyond, you have less time to correct errors before something unexpected happens. A health crisis or cognitive decline can make it difficult or impossible to make changes later. That's why this strategy is so critical for seniors. It creates a safety net that protects your family, even if you're not able to manage these details yourself in the future. And third, this method is designed to minimize taxes and avoid probate. By ensuring that your beneficiary designations are accurate and coordinated across all accounts, you can help your heirs avoid the 30% or more in taxes that often hit estates with outdated paperwork. You also keep your assets out of probate court, which can drag on for 12 to 24 months and eat up thousands in fees. In one case I handled, a retiree's careful beneficiary planning saved her family over $120,000 in taxes and probate costs, money that stayed in the family, not lost to the system. Let's look at another real-world example. A client in his early 80s had 4 retirement accounts, each with different beneficiaries listed. Some accounts named his wife, others named a trust, and one still listed a deceased sibling. By mapping out every account and consolidating the beneficiaries using the blueprint, we were able to align his wishes, simplify the paperwork, and provide clear documentation to his family. When he passed, the transfer of assets was seamless, tax-efficient, and free of legal challenges. His family received every dollar he intended, and the process took just weeks, not months or years. You might be wondering, isn't this something my financial advisor or attorney should already be handling? In theory, yes, but in practice, many professionals focus on investments or estate documents and overlook the critical details of beneficiary forms. That's why I always tell my clients, you are the final line of defense. No one cares more about your legacy than you do, and the beneficiary blueprint empowers you to take control. Here's another reason this strategy is so powerful for seniors. It works hand in hand with Social Security planning, tax-efficient withdrawals, and healthcare cost management. For example, if you're coordinating required minimum distributions, RMDs, from your IRA and planning for Medicare premiums, the right beneficiary choices can help your heirs avoid surprise tax bills or penalties. In some cases, naming a trust as a beneficiary can protect a disabled child's eligibility for government benefits or ensure that minor grandchildren receive their inheritance in a controlled, responsible way. The blueprint isn't just about avoiding mistakes. It's about optimizing every aspect of your retirement plan for maximum benefit. Let me pause for a moment and emphasize, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Every family situation is unique, and you should always consult with a qualified financial advisor before making changes to your beneficiary designations or estate plan. But after helping thousands of retirees navigate these waters, I can tell you that the blueprint has helped families preserve between $50,000 and $250,000 that would otherwise have been lost to taxes, legal fees, or administrative delays. That's real money, and it's worth protecting. So what are the key elements of the beneficiary blueprint? First, gather all your beneficiary forms, IRAs, 401ks, Roth IRAs, life insurance, annuities, and even bank accounts with payable on death or transfer on death instructions. Second, review each designation for accuracy, making sure names are spelled correctly, relationships are current, and the allocations match your wishes. Third, coordinate your beneficiary choices with your will and trust documents to avoid conflicts or confusion. And finally, set a reminder to review everything at least once a year or any time there's a major life event, marriage, divorce, birth, or death in the family. I know that sounds like a lot, but let me assure you, it's a straightforward process when you follow the blueprint, and the peace of mind it brings is invaluable. In fact, many retirees tell me that once they've completed this review, they sleep better at night, knowing their family is protected from unnecessary hardship. The most successful retirees I work with make this an annual tradition, just like getting a health checkup or reviewing their Social Security statement. So far, we've identified the problem and introduced a proven solution that works specifically for seniors with substantial retirement savings. We've seen how the beneficiary blueprint can save families tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we've learned that the key is clarity, consistency, and regular review. Now let me show you exactly how to implement this strategy step by step, because the solution is only as good as your ability to put it into action. And before you start, you'll want to avoid some critical mistakes that could undo all your hard work. But first, here's how you can take control of your beneficiary designations today. Part 3. Step by Step. How to secure your beneficiaries and protect every dollar. Now that you understand the power of the beneficiary blueprint and why it's so essential for seniors with substantial retirement savings, let's get down to the practical, step-by-step actions you can take right now. I want you to have absolute clarity and confidence as you move forward. In my decades of experience of helping retirees, I've learned that the most successful outcomes come from a simple, methodical process, one that leaves no room for costly surprises or overlooked details. Remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Every situation is unique, and you should always consult with a qualified financial advisor before making changes. But these steps will give you a clear roadmap to follow so you can take control and protect your legacy with confidence. Let's start with the very first step, and I can't stress this enough. Gather every single account that requires a beneficiary designation. That means your IRAs, 401ks, Roth IRAs, 403bs, pension plans, life insurance policies, annuities, and even your bank accounts if they have payable on death, POD, or transfer on death, TOD, options. In my experience, most retirees underestimate how many accounts they actually have. I've seen clients with as many as 14 different accounts, some dating back 30 years or more. Take your time with this step. Set aside an afternoon and make a list of every account, the financial institution, and the contact information. If you're not sure, check your old tax returns for 1099-R forms. Ask your current and former employers about old retirement plans and look through your insurance files. Many people discover lost accounts worth tens of thousands of dollars during this process. Let me repeat that. Just by gathering all your accounts, you could uncover an extra $10,000, $50,000, or even $100,000 that's been forgotten. Once you've gathered your list, move to Step 2. Request and review the current beneficiary forms for each account. Don't rely on old paperwork or your memory. Contact each financial institution directly and ask for a copy of your beneficiary designation on file. Many companies will let you access this online, but if you prefer, you can call and request a mailed or emailed copy. Take your time to verify the details. Are the names spelled correctly? Are your relationships, spouse, child, trust, charity, accurate and up to date? Are your allocations, such as 50% to each child or 100% to your spouse, reflecting your current wishes? I recommend creating a spreadsheet or written chart with each account, the type, the beneficiary, and the percentage or amount designated. This gives you a bird's eye view and makes it easy to spot inconsistencies or outdated information. Step 3 is where the real protection happens. Coordinate your beneficiary designations with your will and any trusts you've established. Here's where many retirees get tripped up. Remember, beneficiary forms override your will. If your will says everything to my daughter, but your IRA still lists your ex-spouse, the ex-spouse gets the money. Sit down with your estate planning documents and compare them to your beneficiary chart. Are there any conflicts? For example, if your trust is meant to receive certain assets, make sure those accounts list the trust as the beneficiary. If you want to provide for a grandchild, make sure their name appears where you intend. If you have minor children or beneficiaries with special needs, you may want to designate a trust or custodian to manage the funds, rather than naming them directly. This step can prevent years of legal headaches and save your heirs tens of thousands in legal fees and taxes. Now, let's talk about timing. You should complete this full review and update process at least once a year and immediately after any major life event. That means if you get married, divorced, lose a loved one, welcome a new grandchild, or experience any significant change in your family or finances, you review your beneficiary designations right away. Don't put this off. The window for making changes narrows as we age, and waiting even a few months can mean the difference between a smooth inheritance and a costly, drawn-out legal battle. I recommend setting a recurring reminder on your calendar, perhaps every January or on your birthday. It takes less than an hour once your system is set up, but it can save your family $50,000, $100,000, or more in the long run. Another critical step is to communicate your wishes clearly with your loved ones. I know this isn't always easy, but it's one of the most important things you can do. Let your spouse, children, or trusted advisor know where your beneficiary records are kept, how to access your accounts, and who to contact in the event of your passing. I've seen too many families left in the dark, scrambling to piece together financial information while grieving. One client of mine created a simple beneficiary binder with copies of all forms, account numbers, and contact info. When she passed, her family was able to settle her estate in less than 60 days, with zero legal disputes and no money lost to the courts. That's the kind of peace of mind you want for your loved ones. Let's recap what we've covered so far. First, gather every account that requires a beneficiary. Second, request and review the current forms for accuracy. Third, coordinate your designations with your will and trusts. Fourth, set a schedule to review and update after any major life event, or at least annually. And finally, communicate your wishes and documentation with your family or trusted advisor. These steps might sound simple, but they are the foundation of a legacy that lasts for generations. Now, I know some of you may be concerned about making a mistake or not knowing exactly how to fill out certain forms. That's perfectly normal. If you're unsure, reach out to a qualified financial advisor or estate attorney. It's a small investment of time and money compared to the potential cost of getting it wrong. I've seen retirees lose six-figure losses or more simply because they didn't double-check a beneficiary form or left a field blank. Don't let that happen to your family. You might also be wondering about special situations, like naming a trust as a beneficiary or dealing with blended families. These can be complex, but the same principles apply: clarity, coordination, and regular review. If you have a trust, make sure it's properly drafted and that your account designations use the exact legal name of the trust. For blended families, be explicit about your wishes and consider involving a neutral third party to help avoid misunderstandings. One more word of caution. Watch out for outdated or default designations, especially on old 401ks or employer plans. Many accounts automatically list your spouse as the beneficiary, but if you've divorced or remarried, this can lead to unintended consequences. Similarly, if you leave a beneficiary field blank, the account may default to your estate, triggering probate and unnecessary taxes. Let me repeat this critical point. Every year you delay this process increases the risk of costly mistakes. The sooner you implement these steps, the more you protect your family's inheritance. Even if you think your paperwork is in order, take the time to double-check. In my decades of experience, the most successful retirees are those who take action methodically, thoughtfully, and with the guidance of a trusted advisor. So far, we've covered the practical, actionable steps you need to secure your beneficiary designations and protect every dollar you've worked for. But before you take action, you need to avoid these critical mistakes, errors that can undo all your hard work in an instant. The next section will reveal the most expensive beneficiary mistakes I've seen and how to steer clear of them. Before you do anything, avoid this costly mistake. Part 4. The costliest beneficiary mistakes and how to spot them before it's too late. Now that you have a clear roadmap for reviewing and updating your beneficiary designations, let's pause and talk honestly about the most expensive mistakes I've seen retirees make. Mistakes that can wipe out decades of careful saving and planning in a single stroke of the pen, or worse, a missing signature. In my decades of experience of helping American seniors protect their legacies, I've witnessed families lose homes, inheritances, and even relationships because of these avoidable errors. I want you to be able to spot the warning signs and steer clear of these pitfalls so your loved ones receive every dollar you intend. As always, remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. You should consult with a qualified financial advisor for your specific situation. The examples I share are drawn from real experiences, but every family's situation is unique. Let's start with the first and perhaps most devastating mistake: outdated or missing beneficiary forms. This happens more often than you might think. Maybe you opened a 401k at your first job 35 years ago and never updated the beneficiary after you got married, divorced, or had children. Or perhaps you simply left the beneficiary section blank, thinking your will would cover everything. Here's the hard truth. If your beneficiary form is missing, outdated, or lists someone who has passed away, your account will likely go to your estate. This triggers probate, which can take 12 to 24 months and cost your family between 3% and 7% of your estate in legal fees and court costs. For a $500,000 IRA, that's $15,000 to $35,000 lost, money that could have paid for your grandchild's college or supported a surviving spouse. The warning sign here is simple. If you haven't reviewed your beneficiary forms in the past 12 months, or if you've had any major life event, marriage, divorce, death of a loved one, birth of a child or grandchild, your forms are at risk. I've seen families torn apart when an ex-spouse inherits a retirement account simply because the paperwork was never updated. Don't let that happen to you. The second costly mistake is naming the estate as beneficiary, either intentionally or by default. Sometimes people think it's easier to have their estate handle everything, but this is a trap that can cost your heirs dearly. When your retirement account, such as an IRA or 401k, names your estate as beneficiary, those funds must go through probate. Not only does this delay the inheritance by months or even years, but it can also trigger immediate tax consequences. For example, inherited IRAs left to an estate are often forced to be distributed within 5 years, rather than allowing your heirs to stretch withdrawals over their own lifetimes. This can push your children or grandchildren into higher tax brackets, resulting in tax bills of 30% or more. On a $300,000 account, that's $90,000 lost to taxes, gone forever. The warning sign here is seeing estate listed as a beneficiary or leaving the beneficiary section blank, which often defaults to the estate. If you're unsure, call your financial institution and ask them directly who is listed. Don't assume, verify. The third major pitfall is improperly naming minor children or grandchildren as direct beneficiaries. While it's natural to want to provide for the youngest members of your family, naming a minor as a direct beneficiary can backfire. By law, minors cannot inherit assets outright. If you pass away and a minor is named, the court will appoint a guardian to manage the funds until the child turns 18 or 21, depending on your state. This process can be expensive and time-consuming, often costing $5,000 to $20,000 in legal and administrative fees. Worse, when the child reaches adulthood, they receive the entire inheritance in a lump sum, with no restrictions, sometimes leading to poor financial decisions. The warning sign here is seeing the name of a minor child or grandchild listed directly on your beneficiary forms, without a trust or custodian arrangement. If you want to leave assets to a minor, it's almost always better to name a properly structured trust or a custodian under the Uniform Transfers to Minors Act, UTMA, as the beneficiary. This gives you control over how and when the funds are distributed and can protect the inheritance for years to come. The fourth and often overlooked mistake is failing to coordinate beneficiary designations with your will or trust. Many retirees assume that their will is the final word, but as we've discussed, beneficiary forms take legal precedence. If your will says one thing and your IRA or life insurance policy says another, the beneficiary form wins every time. This disconnect can create confusion, legal battles, and even lawsuits among your heirs. In one case I handled, 2 siblings spent nearly $60,000 in legal fees fighting over a $200,000 life insurance policy because the beneficiary form hadn't been updated after their mother's trust was created. That's 30% of the inheritance lost to lawyers, simply because the paperwork wasn't coordinated. The warning sign here is any inconsistency between your estate documents and your beneficiary forms. If you've updated your will or established a trust in the past 5 years but haven't reviewed your beneficiary designations, you're at risk. Make it a point to review everything side by side and seek professional guidance if you're unsure. Let me pause and recap these critical mistakes. Outdated or missing beneficiary forms can send your assets to probate and cost your family tens of thousands in fees. Naming your estate as beneficiary leads to unnecessary taxes and delays. Naming minors directly creates legal headaches and loss of control. And failing to coordinate with your will or trust can spark costly family disputes. These are not rare events. I've seen them play out hundreds of times, and the financial consequences are real and often irreversible. Now let's talk about a few additional warning signs that should prompt immediate action. If you've moved to a new state in the past few years, Your old beneficiary forms may not comply with local laws. If you've remarried, make sure your new spouse is properly listed and consider the impact on children from previous marriages. If you've named a charity or trust, double-check that the legal names and tax identification numbers are accurate. One typo can derail your entire plan. I also want to address a common concern. What if you're not sure who should be your beneficiary, or you want to leave assets to multiple people or causes? The safest approach is to be explicit on your forms. List each beneficiary by full legal name, relationship, and percentage or dollar amount. For example, Jane Marie Smith, daughter, 50%. Robert James Smith, son, 50%. Avoid vague terms like my children or my heirs, as these can be interpreted in different ways and lead to legal challenges. Let me repeat. The most successful retirees I work with are those who double-check every detail and update their forms after every major life event. The cost of a simple oversight can easily exceed $50,000 or more, and the emotional toll on your family can last a lifetime. Don't leave your legacy to chance. Take the time to review, verify, and coordinate every account and document. If you spot any of these warning signs or realize you've made one of these mistakes, don't panic. There are solutions available, and the sooner you act, the more options you have. In the next section, I'll reveal advanced strategies that can help you not only avoid these pitfalls, but actually optimize your beneficiary designations for maximum tax efficiency, asset protection, and family harmony. Once you avoid these traps, you can access advanced strategies that most people never learn. Here's where it gets really powerful. Part 5. Advanced Strategies. Unlocking the full value of your beneficiary designations. Now that you've learned how to avoid the most expensive beneficiary mistakes, let's take your planning to the next level. In my 30-plus years working with retirees, I've seen that those who truly maximize their legacy don't just avoid pitfalls. They use advanced strategies to unlock greater value, minimize taxes, and ensure their wishes are honored for generations. These are the techniques industry insiders and the most successful retirees use. And while they may sound sophisticated, I'll break them down so you can understand exactly how to apply them in your own life. Again, remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Please consult with a qualified financial advisor for your specific situation before making changes. Every detail matters when it comes to your legacy. Let's begin with a strategy that's become even more important since the Secure Act of 2020. Using trusts as beneficiaries for greater control and protection. Many retirees think trusts are only for the ultra-wealthy, but that's simply not the case. If you want to leave assets to minor children, grandchildren, or beneficiaries who may not be financially responsible, a properly structured trust can provide powerful safeguards. For example, let's say you have a $400,000 IRA and want to ensure your grandson, who's only 10 years old, receives the funds for education and not all at once when he turns 18. By naming a trust as the beneficiary rather than your grandson directly, you can specify exactly how and when the money is distributed. You might set it up so he receives $20,000 per year for college and the remainder at age 30. This prevents a lump sum payout at a young age and protects the assets from creditors or even future divorces. But there's more. Trusts can also help protect beneficiaries with special needs. If your daughter or grandson receives government benefits, a direct inheritance could disqualify them. A special needs trust, named as the beneficiary, can provide for their supplemental needs without jeopardizing their eligibility. The tax implications are significant as well. While inherited IRAs must generally be distributed within 10 years under current law, a trust can help manage the timing of withdrawals and, in some cases, smooth out taxable income, potentially saving tens of thousands of dollars in higher tax brackets. The second advanced strategy is optimizing for tax efficiency with Roth conversions and strategic beneficiary choices. Many retirees have both traditional pre-tax accounts, like IRAs and 401ks, and Roth IRAs, which grow tax-free. The order in which you leave these accounts to heirs can have a major impact on the after-tax value your family receives. Here's what I've seen. Leaving a Roth IRA to a younger beneficiary, such as a grandchild or adult child, allows the account to continue growing tax-free for up to 10 years after your passing. If you leave a $200,000 Roth IRA to a 40-year-old child, for instance, that account could grow to over $320,000, tax-free, over a decade, assuming a 5% annual return. Compare that to a traditional IRA, which would be subject to ordinary income tax as the funds are withdrawn. Many retirees find it makes sense to convert some traditional IRA funds to Roth IRAs during retirement, especially if you're in a lower tax bracket now than your heirs will be. By paying the taxes up front, when rates may be lower, you give your beneficiaries a tax-free inheritance and potentially reduce the overall family tax bill by tens of thousands of dollars. Timing is crucial here. The sooner you implement a Roth conversion, the more years your account has to grow tax-free and the more flexibility your heirs will have. The third advanced technique is charitable beneficiary planning for maximum impact and minimum taxes. If you have charitable intentions, naming a nonprofit as the beneficiary of your IRA or 401k can be one of the most tax-efficient ways to give. Here's why. Charities pay no income tax on inherited retirement accounts, while individuals do. If you leave a $100,000 IRA to your children, they might lose $24,000 to $37,000 in federal and state income taxes, depending on their tax bracket. But if you leave that same IRA to a qualified charity, the full $100,000 goes to the cause you care about tax-free. Meanwhile, you can leave other assets, such as Roth IRAs, life insurance proceeds, or taxable accounts, to your family, which may be more tax-advantaged for them. I've seen retirees use this strategy to create scholarships, fund medical research, or support their church, all while reducing the tax burden on their heirs. Let me pause and emphasize, these strategies are not just for the wealthy. I've helped retirees with estates as small as $250,000 use trusts and charitable planning to save substantial amounts in taxes and legal fees. The key is coordination and timing, making sure your beneficiary designations, trust documents, and charitable intentions all work together. Another optimization tip for affluent retirees is staggered inheritance planning. Instead of leaving a lump sum, you can set up your beneficiary designations, often through a trust, to provide income over time. For example, you might direct that your $600,000 IRA pays $30,000 per year to each of your 2 children for 10 years. This not only provides ongoing financial support, but can also help your heirs avoid being pushed into higher tax brackets by a large one-time inheritance. Let's not forget about D. Tax-efficient withdrawal strategies. During your lifetime, by carefully planning how and when you take distributions from your retirement accounts, you can reduce your taxable estate and potentially lower the taxes your beneficiaries will pay. For example, taking slightly larger withdrawals from your IRA after age 73, the current required minimum distribution age, can reduce the account balance left at death, resulting in a smaller tax bill for your heirs. Pair this with Roth conversions or qualified charitable distributions, QCDs, to maximize your family's after-tax inheritance. As you can see, the most successful retirees I work with are those who go beyond the basics and use these advanced strategies to optimize every dollar. They coordinate their beneficiary choices with their tax planning, estate documents, and charitable goals. And they revisit these decisions regularly, especially as tax laws change or their family situation evolves. Let me repeat. The window for these advanced strategies is not open forever. Every year you wait, you lose opportunities for tax-free growth, charitable impact, and family protection. The key to success is getting your timing exactly right, whether it's a Roth conversion, trust setup, or charitable designation. Don't wait until the end of the year, or worse, until it's too late. Take action now and revisit your plan every year or whenever there's a major life change. So far, we've covered the most powerful advanced techniques for maximizing the benefits of your beneficiary designations. We've looked at trusts for control and protection, Roth conversions for tax efficiency, and charitable planning for impact and savings. The next step is to map out a clear timeline and sequence for implementing these strategies so you know exactly what to do and when. Timing is crucial. Here's exactly when to take each step for the best results. Part 6. The Beneficiary Action Plan. Your 30, 60, 90-day timeline for total protection. You've now learned the advanced strategies that can help you protect your legacy, minimize taxes, and ensure your loved ones are cared for exactly as you intend. But knowledge alone isn't enough. It's action, taken at the right time, that secures your family's future. In my decades of experience working with retirees, I've seen that the most successful outcomes always follow a clear, step-by-step timeline. That's why I want to walk you through a practical 90-day action plan that breaks this process into manageable steps with specific deadlines and priorities. Remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor for your specific situation. Timing can make a difference of tens of thousands of dollars, so don't leave this to chance. Let's start with the first 30 days. Your focus during this period should be on information gathering and initial review. Set aside a few hours, perhaps on a weekend, to collect every document related to your retirement accounts, insurance policies, and bank accounts. Print out or request copies of your most recent beneficiary designation forms. If you have accounts you haven't touched in years, an old 401k from a previous employer, a life insurance policy from when your children were young, now is the time to track them down. In my experience, retirees often discover lost accounts worth $10,000, $50,000, or even more during this step. Make a master list with each account's name, institution, account number, and current beneficiary. If you find any accounts without a beneficiary listed, highlight these as urgent. These are the ones most at risk for probate and unnecessary taxes. During these first 30 days, if you're married or have a trusted family member or advisor, involve them in the process. 2 sets of eyes are better than 1, and this can help avoid mistakes or missed accounts. If you use a financial planner or estate attorney, let them know you're starting this process and ask for their guidance on any accounts or documents you're unsure about. By day 30, your goal is to have a complete inventory of every account and beneficiary designation. If you're missing paperwork, call the institution and request it. Don't let this step slip. Every month you delay increases the risk of lost or misdirected assets. Now, moving into days 31 through 60, your focus shifts to plan, review, coordination, and updates. Take your master list and compare it side by side with your will, trust documents, and any other estate planning paperwork. Look for inconsistencies. Does your will say one thing, but your IRA beneficiary form say another? Are there accounts that still list an ex-spouse, a deceased family member, or your estate as the beneficiary? These are red flags that need immediate attention. During this 30-day window, set up meetings with your financial advisor and estate planning attorney. Bring your master list and supporting documents. Discuss whether advanced strategies like trusts, Roth conversions, or charitable designations make sense for you. If you're considering a trust as a beneficiary, now is the time to have it drafted or reviewed by a qualified attorney. If you want to convert a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA for tax efficiency, ask your advisor to run the numbers and help you time the conversion, ideally before the end of the calendar year to maximize tax benefits. If you're married, discuss your beneficiary choices with your spouse. If you have adult children or other heirs, consider letting them know what you're planning and why. Clear communication now can prevent misunderstandings and disputes later. By the end of day 60, your goal is to have every beneficiary form reviewed and, where necessary, updated. Submit new forms to your financial institutions and request written confirmation that the changes have been processed. Don't assume a phone call is enough. Ask for a letter or email confirming the updates. This step alone can save your family months of confusion and thousands in legal costs. The final 30 days, days 61 through 90, are about finalizing, documenting, and communicating your plan. Create a beneficiary binder or digital folder that contains copies of all updated forms, your master list, and a summary of your wishes. Include contact information for your financial advisor, attorney, and any key family members. Store this binder in a secure but accessible location, such as a home safe or with your attorney. Let your spouse, children, or trusted executor know where to find it. During this last phase, set a recurring reminder, either on your calendar with your advisor or both, to review your beneficiary designations every year or immediately after any major life event. This habit is what separates the most successful retirees from those who leave their legacies to chance. I've seen families save $100,000 or more simply because their loved one kept their records up to date and easy to find. Let's recap your 90-day timeline. First 30 days. Gather every account and beneficiary form, create a master list, and involve your spouse or advisor. Next 30 days, 31 to 60. Review for inconsistencies, update forms as needed, coordinate with your will and trusts, and seek professional advice on advanced strategies. Final 30 days, 61 to 90. Finalize all updates, create a beneficiary binder, communicate your plan, and set annual review reminders. A few important deadlines to keep in mind. If you're considering a Roth conversion, remember that conversions must be completed by December 31st to count for the current tax year. If you're setting up or updating a trust, allow at least 30 days for your attorney to draft and finalize documents. And if you're approaching age 73, review your required minimum distributions and coordinate your beneficiary updates before your next withdrawal. Let me repeat. Every month you delay this process increases the risk of costly mistakes. The sooner you implement your beneficiary action plan, the more you protect your family's inheritance and legacy. In my decades of experience, retirees who follow a clear timeline and keep good records leave their families not only with more money, but with far less stress, confusion, and conflict. So far, you've learned how to inventory your accounts, coordinate your documents, and create a system for ongoing protection. But even if you follow this plan perfectly, you might encounter some common roadblocks, issues that can slow you down, confuse your loved ones, or create unexpected challenges. In the next section, I'll show you how to troubleshoot these problems, find solutions, and keep your legacy on track. Even if you follow this perfectly, you might encounter these common roadblocks. Part 7. Troubleshooting and Problem Solving. Overcoming the most common roadblocks. Even with the clearest plan and the best intentions, nearly every retiree encounters unexpected challenges when updating beneficiary designations. In my decades of experience of helping seniors protect their families, I've seen the same roadblocks come up time and again. The good news is that with the right approach, you can work through these issues and keep your legacy secure. Let's walk through the most common challenges with practical solutions and what-if scenarios, so you'll be prepared for anything that comes your way. Before we dive in, remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Consult with a qualified financial advisor for your specific situation, especially if you face any of these roadblocks. The most successful retirees I work with don't panic when something unexpected pops up. They simply adjust their plan and keep moving forward. Challenge 1. Locating lost or forgotten accounts. One of the most common stumbling blocks for retirees is discovering accounts they've lost track of, old 401ks from previous employers, small IRAs opened decades ago, or life insurance policies purchased in another state. I've seen retirees uncover $25,000, $60,000, or even more in forgotten assets. But these accounts often have outdated or missing beneficiary information, putting your legacy at risk. Solution: start by reviewing your old tax returns for Form 5498, IRA contributions, and 1099-R, retirement distributions, which often list account numbers and institutions. Reach out to former employers' HR departments and ask about any retirement plans you may have participated in. For life insurance, check for old policy statements or contact your state's unclaimed property office. The National Association of Unclaimed Property Administrators, NAUPA, is a great resource. Many retirees find lost accounts this way. Once you locate an account, immediately request the current beneficiary designation and update it if necessary. Don't delay. These accounts are the most likely to end up in probate if left unchecked. What if you can't find the original paperwork? Most institutions will allow you to update your beneficiary by submitting a new form, even if you don't have the old one. If the account is truly untraceable, make a note in your records and inform your executor or family so they know to keep looking. Challenge 2. Conflicting information between beneficiary forms and estate documents. It's surprisingly common for retirees to discover that their will, trust, and beneficiary forms don't match up. For example, your will might direct everything to your children, but your IRA still lists your ex-spouse, or your trust is named on one account but not others. This creates confusion and can lead to costly legal disputes. Solution: always remember that beneficiary forms override your will or trust. The key is to create a master list of every account and compare the beneficiary designations to your estate documents. If you spot a conflict, update the beneficiary form to match your current wishes and estate plan. If you have a trust, make sure it's properly named, using the full legal title and date, and coordinate with your estate attorney to ensure all documents are consistent. What if you've already lost capacity or a loved one passes before updating? If someone is no longer able to update their forms due to incapacity, a legal guardian or power of attorney may be able to act on their behalf, but this can be a lengthy and expensive process. That's why it's so important to review and update your forms while you're healthy and able. If a loved one passes with outdated forms, consult an estate attorney immediately to understand your options. Sometimes, but not always, courts can intervene if there's clear evidence of intent. Challenge 3. Difficult family dynamics and blended families. Blended families, estranged relatives, or disputes among children can make beneficiary planning emotionally challenging. I've seen siblings spend years and over $100,000 in legal fees fighting over unclear or conflicting beneficiary designations. The pain of family conflict can last far longer than any financial loss. Solution: the most successful retirees I work with address these issues head-on. If you're in a blended family, be explicit in your beneficiary designations. List each person by full legal name, relationship, and percentage. Avoid vague terms like "my children" if you have stepchildren or half-siblings. If you want to provide for a spouse and children from a previous marriage, consider using a trust to ensure each person receives what you intend, with clear rules about timing and amounts. Communication is critical. Discuss your wishes with your family or leave a letter of instruction to explain your decisions. What if family members disagree or contest your choices? While you can't control every reaction, clear, updated beneficiary forms and supporting documentation are your best defense against disputes. If you anticipate conflict, involve a neutral third party, such as an attorney or professional trustee, to help mediate and document your plan. Challenge 4. Complex beneficiary structures, trusts, charities, and special needs. Naming a trust, charity, or special needs beneficiary can introduce extra complexity. For example, if the trust is not properly named, or if the charity's legal name or tax ID is incorrect, your wishes might not be honored. For special needs beneficiaries, a direct inheritance could jeopardize government benefits. Solution: double-check all legal names and tax identification numbers before submitting your beneficiary forms. For trusts, use the full legal title and date of the trust. For charities, confirm their name and EIN with the IRS or the organization itself. For special needs, work with an attorney to set up a special needs trust and name it as the beneficiary, not the individual. This ensures the inheritance is protected and does not affect eligibility for Medicaid or SSI. What if you already submitted a form with an error? Most institutions will allow you to submit a new, corrected form at any time. If funds have already been distributed incorrectly, consult with an estate attorney immediately. Sometimes assets can be recovered if there's clear documentation of your intent. Challenge 5. Institutional delays or processing errors. Even after you submit updated beneficiary forms, mistakes can happen. Forms get lost, names are misspelled, or the changes aren't processed correctly. I've seen families lose out on $50,000 or more because a financial institution failed to update a beneficiary in time. Solution: always request written confirmation from the institution, an email or letter stating that your beneficiary designation has been updated and recorded. Keep this confirmation in your beneficiary binder or digital records. If you don't receive confirmation within 30 days, follow up until you do. When in doubt, call the institution and ask them to read back the current beneficiary on file. What if an institution refuses to honor your updated designation? If you have written confirmation and the institution still resists, escalate the issue to a supervisor or compliance department. If necessary, involve your attorney. Institutions are required by law to honor valid beneficiary designations. Let me pause and recap. The most common roadblocks, lost accounts, conflicting documents, family disputes, complex beneficiaries, and institutional errors can all be overcome with patience, organization, and clear communication. The retirees who master these troubleshooting steps are the ones whose families receive every dollar intended, with far less stress and heartache. So far, you've learned how to anticipate and solve the most frequent problems that arise during beneficiary planning. Once you master this foundation, you're ready for the next level: advanced optimization techniques and long-term adjustments that can help your legacy last for generations. Once you master this foundation, you're ready for the next level. Part 8. Next Level Actions and Optimization. Building a Legacy that Lasts Generations. You've come a long way. By now, you know how to avoid the most common and costly beneficiary mistakes, implement advanced strategies, and troubleshoot the roadblocks that can derail even the best-laid plans. But the journey doesn't end here. The most successful retirees I've worked with over the past 30-plus years don't just set their beneficiary designations and walk away. They use next-level actions to maximize results, scale their strategy, and ensure their legacy stands the test of time. Let's explore how you can do the same. As always, remember, this is educational content, not personalized financial advice. Consult with a qualified financial advisor for your specific situation. These next steps are designed to help you think beyond today and create a plan that adapts and grows with your family's needs. Let's begin with continuous optimization. The financial landscape is always changing. Tax laws shift, investment rules evolve, and your family situation may look very different 5 or 10 years from now. That's why the most successful retirees treat beneficiary planning as an ongoing process, not a one-time event. I recommend setting a recurring annual review, just like a health checkup, every January or on your birthday. During this review, pull out your beneficiary binder, update your master account list, and double-check that every designation still matches your wishes. If you've welcomed a new grandchild, experienced a marriage or divorce, or lost a loved one, update your forms right away. This habit alone has helped my clients avoid countless headaches and preserve tens of thousands of dollars for their families. Next, consider scaling your strategy with multi-generational planning. Many affluent retirees want to do more than just pass assets to their children. They want to create a legacy that supports grandchildren, great-grandchildren, or even charitable causes for decades to come. One powerful tool is the Funch Dynasty Trust. Unlike a standard trust, a dynasty trust can be designed to last for multiple generations, shielding assets from estate taxes, creditors, and divorces. For example, let's say you establish a $1 million dynasty trust for your family. With careful management, that trust could provide income to your children, then your grandchildren, and potentially your great-grandchildren, while minimizing taxes and keeping the assets protected from lawsuits or marital disputes. This is a strategy many wealthy families use, but it's available to anyone with the right planning and professional guidance. For those interested in charitable giving, now is the time to explore options like charitable remainder trusts, CRTs, or donor-advised funds, DAFs. A CRT allows you to leave assets to a charity while providing income to your family for a set number of years or for life. This can dramatically reduce capital gains and income taxes while supporting causes you care about. A DAF, on the other hand, lets you make a charitable contribution now, receive an immediate tax deduction, and recommend grants to your favorite charities over time. Many retirees find that using a DAF in combination with thoughtful beneficiary planning allows them to leave a meaningful legacy while maximizing tax efficiency for their heirs. Another advanced technique is lifetime gifting and strategic account drawdowns. Instead of waiting until your passing, you can begin transferring assets to your heirs during your lifetime, taking advantage of the annual gift tax exclusion, currently $17,000 per recipient per year as of 2024. By gradually reducing the size of your taxable estate, you can help your heirs avoid estate taxes down the road and see the impact of your generosity firsthand. Additionally, consider drawing down traditional IRAs or 401ks strategically to minimize required minimum distributions, RMDs, and related taxes in your later years while converting to Roth IRAs when it makes sense. This approach can create a more tax-efficient inheritance for your beneficiaries. Let's also talk about incorporating flexibility for future changes. The best plans are built to adapt. Life is unpredictable, laws change, relationships evolve, and new opportunities arise. Whenever possible, use per stirpes or per capita language in your beneficiary forms to ensure your assets are distributed according to your wishes, even if a beneficiary predeceases you. If you're using a trust, make sure it has provisions for successor trustees and clear instructions for unforeseen circumstances. And always keep your documentation up to date, both with your financial institutions and in your own records. For those with substantial retirement savings, coordinate Social Security, Medicare, and estate planning. For maximum benefit, for example, if you plan to delay Social Security until age 70 to maximize your benefit, potentially increasing your monthly income by up to 32%, make sure your beneficiary strategy aligns with your broader income and healthcare plans. Review how your required minimum distributions, RMDs, might affect your Medicare premiums or tax bracket, and adjust your withdrawal and gifting strategies accordingly. This level of coordination can save your family tens of thousands of dollars over time. Finally, don't underestimate the power of family education and communication. The most enduring legacies are built on trust, transparency, and shared values. Consider holding a family meeting, perhaps once a year or every few years, to discuss your plans, answer questions, and share your hopes for the future. You don't need to disclose every dollar or detail, but letting your loved ones know your intentions can prevent misunderstandings and foster a sense of unity. I've seen families avoid years of conflict and save hundreds of thousands of dollars simply because they talked openly about their legacy. Let's recap what we've covered in this final stage. Next-level beneficiary planning means adopting a mindset of continuous review, scaling your strategy for multi-generational impact, leveraging advanced charitable and gifting tools, building in flexibility, and coordinating every piece of your financial life. It's about more than just avoiding mistakes. It's about building a legacy that reflects your values and supports your loved ones for generations. In my decades of experience, the retirees who take these next-level actions leave behind more than money. They leave behind peace of mind, family harmony, and a lasting example of wise stewardship. The opportunity is in your hands, and the time to act is now. So far, you've learned how to avoid costly mistakes, implement advanced strategies, troubleshoot challenges, and optimize your plan for the long term. But what does it look like when all these pieces come together? In our conclusion, I'll share real-world stories of families who've used these strategies to transform their legacy, stories that might just inspire you to take action today. That's just the beginning. Here's where it gets really powerful. Over the past hour, we've covered a tremendous amount of ground together, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of what you've just accomplished. We've walked through the 5 most common and costly beneficiary mistakes that can quietly drain 6-figure losses, or more, from a family's legacy. We've explored the hidden risks of outdated forms, the dangers of naming your estate or minors directly, the pitfalls of uncoordinated documents, and the complexities of advanced strategies like trusts and charitable giving. You've learned how to troubleshoot common challenges, optimize for taxes, and build a plan that adapts as your life and laws change. This isn't just entertainment. This is valuable financial education that could save your loved ones years of heartache and thousands of dollars in unnecessary taxes and legal fees. The knowledge you've gained here represents decades of experience distilled into practical, step-by-step guidance. In my decades of helping retirees optimize their finances, I've seen firsthand that the difference between a secure, confident retirement and a legacy filled with regret often comes down to these very details. If you've invested your time today, you've already taken the first step that separates financially secure retirees from those who struggle. Now that you understand each piece, let's tie it all together. Here's how these strategies work in concert. When you keep your beneficiary forms current, coordinate them with your will and trusts, and use advanced techniques like Roth conversions or charitable designations, you create a robust, resilient plan that stands up to life's twists and turns. The compound effect is powerful. A retiree who follows this complete approach typically saves their family $50,000 to $200,000 in avoided probate costs, unnecessary taxes, and legal disputes, all while ensuring that every dollar goes where it's truly intended. Let me emphasize this important point. This is why wealthy retirees often outperform those with even more starting capital. It's not luck, it's the result of knowledge, implementation, and regular review. After helping retirees navigate multiple market cycles, I can tell you, those who treat their beneficiary designations as living documents, not set-it-and-forget-it tasks, leave behind not only more wealth, but more peace of mind for their families. Imagine the confidence and relief your loved ones will feel knowing your wishes are clear, your paperwork is in order, and your legacy is protected from unnecessary loss. So, what can you do right now? Here are 4 clear action steps you can take over the next 30 days to put all this knowledge into practice. Step 1. Assessment phase. first week. Start by gathering these 3 essential documents: your most recent beneficiary forms for every retirement account, insurance policy, and bank account, your will and any trusts, and your most recent account statements. Create a master list of every account, institution, and named beneficiary. Calculate your current position by noting any accounts with missing, outdated, or default beneficiaries. These are your biggest opportunity areas. If you haven't reviewed your forms in over a year, or if you've had a life change, highlight those accounts for immediate attention. Step 2. Planning phase, second week. Create your personalized timeline based on your age, family structure, and goals. For example, if you're nearing age 73, coordinate your beneficiary review with your required minimum distributions. Research the specific options we discussed, such as trusts for minors, Roth conversions, or charitable designations, and see which ones fit your situation. Document your current strategy and compare it to what you've learned today. Are you maximizing tax efficiency? Are your forms and legal documents in harmony? This is your chance to make a plan that reflects your deepest wishes. Step 3. Professional consultation, third week. Schedule a meeting with a qualified financial advisor or estate planning attorney, ideally one with experience in retirement beneficiary planning. Bring your master list and these specific questions. Are my forms up to date and properly coordinated with my will and trusts? Should I consider a trust, Roth conversion, or charitable beneficiary for tax efficiency? Are there any risks I haven't identified? Verify that your advisor understands these advanced strategies and can help you customize them for your unique needs. Remember, a qualified professional is invaluable for catching details you might miss and ensuring your plan is both effective and compliant. Step 4. Implementation begins, fourth week. Start with the lowest risk, highest impact change first, such as updating outdated or missing beneficiary forms. Submit new forms to your institutions and request written confirmation of the updates. Set up any new systems or accounts needed for your optimized strategy, such as a trust or Roth IRA. Begin tracking your progress with a simple annual review checklist. Did you update your forms, communicate your wishes, and coordinate with your legal documents? Measure your success not just by dollars saved, but by the peace of mind you and your family feel. Remember, every financial strategy carries some level of risk. The goal isn't perfection, it's optimization based on your unique situation. Most successful retirees implement these changes gradually over 6 to 12 months, not overnight. Don't let perfectionism prevent you from starting with small improvements. These aren't get-rich-quick schemes. They're proven long-term strategies that protect your legacy through life's changes. The cost of inaction often exceeds the cost of making imperfect but informed decisions. If you feel overwhelmed, just focus on one step at a time. Progress compounds powerfully over time. You're now part of a community of informed retirees who refuse to settle for average outcomes. The journey to financial optimization is ongoing. Markets change, laws evolve, and so do our families. Continue your education by staying informed about retirement planning developments. Share your success stories and challenges with others, whether it's in the comments below, at your local community center, or with your advisor. You'll find that learning from others who are implementing these strategies can help you avoid pitfalls and uncover new opportunities. Your experience and wisdom, combined with the right strategies, create a powerful advantage for both you and your loved ones. If this video helped clarify your retirement planning strategy, please give it a thumbs up so more retirees can benefit. Share your biggest takeaway in the comments. Was there a strategy or mistake that surprised you? Which action will you implement first? Subscribe for more in-depth retirement planning guidance that could save your family thousands and help you sleep better at night. Most importantly, take action on what you've learned. Your future self and your family will thank you. Remember, this has been educational content designed to inform your decision-making. Every individual's financial situation is unique. What works for one person may not be optimal for another. Always consult with qualified financial and tax professionals before making significant changes. Past performance of any strategy doesn't guarantee future results. The tax implications we discussed may change based on future legislation. While this information provides a strong foundation, professional guidance is invaluable. A qualified financial advisor can help you customize these strategies for your specific situation. Tax professionals can ensure you're maximizing benefits while staying compliant, and estate planning attorneys can help with the legal aspects we discussed. Let me leave you with this. Imagine the peace of mind that comes from knowing you've protected your family's inheritance from avoidable mistakes. Imagine the gratitude your children and grandchildren will feel when your legacy arrives intact, just as you intended. You've worked too hard to accept anything less than optimal retirement planning. The sooner you act, the more time your strategies have to work for you. You now have knowledge that many retirees never acquire. Use it to your advantage. You'll know you're on the right track when your financial stress decreases, your confidence grows, and your family is prepared for whatever comes next. You have the tools, the knowledge, and the power to secure your legacy. Take the next step today, because your family's future is worth it.